Magnus Carlsen sacrifices his rook. He's now sacked the queen, sacked, and the rook, and he picks up the bishop, and the next phase of the game begins. Rook, knight, 2 pawns versus the queen. Jan's winning chances, negative. Against you, 95%. Against me, I wouldn't lose this with white. Would I win it? Probably not. Let's see if Magnus Carlsen can bring this home. This might be the most exciting draw you have ever seen in your life, or it might be something better, but you already know it broke the record for the longest World Championship game ever played, which before this game was 124 moves. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so at this point, what you're seeing is 2 players with about 3 minutes on their clock, shuffling back and forth to gain that time to make a committal decision. That is what you're seeing. This part, we don't necessarily have to analyze too deeply. All you have to understand is the only way white can make progress here is by pushing the pawns. That's it. No one's gonna blunder a queen. No one's gonna get checkmated. Black's queen is standing around harassing this king, keeping the knight close to it. Black also needs to not allow e4, e5 to happen. And if e4, e5 happens, Black needs to deal with the consequences. So what does Magnus do? Magnus tries to find a way to coordinate and protect his king at the same time, right? Also, you cannot repeat the position 3 times. Not even back and forth. There's a rule in chess. If the same position occurs on move 85, 90, and 95 because of pointless shuffling, that's a draw. Did you know that? Now you do. Did you already know that? Okay, well, you're 30 minutes in the recap with me, all right? And I've been talking nonstop. I gotta make this kind of exciting, break the 4th wall every now and then. Rook c2, right? So a few times around here, the players almost repeated. It happened a few times. Knight e6, now Magnus is going for a new approach, but he comes right back. By the way, we have crossed 100 moves. We are already in the 100 move territory, but I told you this part of the game is trying to break through with e4. You might be waiting. Notice what happened. Rook d4, knight e2. This is the only successful configuration that you are going to get. Magnus Carlsen has found it. So did Robert Hess, by the way. Knight e2, rook d4. Why was this not possible with the knight on f3? Because whenever the queen pulled up behind the king, g3 did not have a guard. The knight on e2 protects the rook and allows e4, e5 to happen. So knight e2. Now Jan here is like, okay, e4 is coming. So as e4 is gonna come, what I need to do is I need to go over here and trade my h-pawn. That way, I can attack the king from all 3 directions. Down the middle, on the right, and on the left. My h-pawn could be a liability, so I gotta get rid of it now. But Magnus found his configuration, right? The 50 move rule resets. 50 move rule, no captures or pawn advances in 50 moves. The game is a draw. So the queen rotates over to h1. Rook d7, king g8, and it takes a little bit of time, but we have the trade. And at this point, Magnus is going to bring his king to safety, and all the forces are gonna go up together. And either Jan will defend this position, or he will lose. That's it. There is no in-between. Magnus is going to rally the troops together, fight against the queen, the terrifying piece, and they're going to march forward. Jan will either find a way to block these pawns, put his king in a blockading square, and potentially walk past them, or he will lose. So what does he do? He tries to bring his king and queen together to the center. Very, like, iconic movie moment here. He gives a check. Now, important, chess has been solved with 7 pieces or less. Engines were made called table bases that mathematically solve the game of chess. They were saying this position is a draw. There are 7 pieces on the board. They are saying that with optimal computer level play, the game is a draw. That doesn't mean anything to Magnus Carlsen or Jan Nepomniachtchi. And as of move 124, after some checks, this is the 125th move. This is the longest game in World Championship history. Can Magnus Carlsen win it? Notice that notice that Magnus has moved king and knight together. The king is obviously not going to march down the middle. The king is going to march on the side and hide where little bunkers with the pawns or the knight or the rook, and the rook is going to push everybody forward. So Jan plays queen b3. We have rook to d5, king to e7, rook e5 check, couple of checks, and now this is the perfect situation. The king is cut just down the f file. Magnus Carlsen has played e5. Jan Nepomniachtchi has one and only one way to defend this position now. And this is what the commentators predicted. The table base is going to give you 10 options until the human mind takes over. Then there will be 7 options to play with optimal play for a draw. Then there will be 5, and now there is 2. And in reality, there is 1. The queen must stand on this diagonal. Why? Because the king will march up this way. The queen can harass the king and the knight from the back. It also cuts the opportunity to move the pawns forward together. You must play apparently queen c2 or queen b1. Since the game happened, there might have been more analysis on this on table base, but I believe that is what they said during the broadcast. If I'm wrong, then they're wrong, and then everybody's wrong. That is what they were saying. Jan plays queen e6. Jan Nepomniachtchi is now losing game 6 of the World Chess Championship match. Magnus Carlsen comes up the h-file, and all of a sudden it becomes very clear we have gone past the point of no return. Queen takes f5, knight g7. Jan here realizes it here as well. The pieces have simply gone too far, so he plays here, rook f7. You still cannot take, because this becomes a losing king and pawn endgame. You must know your king and pawn endgames. This is a losing one. Rook f7, king d8, f5, and in this position, threatening the walk of the king behind his pieces and the advancement of e7 and e8, Jan Nepomniachtchi resigned.